All right, we are live and Durud and Shalom, everyone. Okay, so I was hoping today we could talk more about Islam and Iran, and so I hope like we get questions regarding that, especially the future. I mean, we could talk about other things that are happening, especially given that we are having a major military buildup right now in the past 48 hours, as I just mentioned earlier on the stream, that the military buildup around Iran is significantly exponentially increasing in the past 48 hours. So there's even though we talked about military assets gathering around Iran for the past, I don't know, 40 something 50 days. Now, yeah, 40 days. In the past 48 hours, it has been in a completely different level. Everybody everybody thinks that a war is imminent, and everybody also, every single analyst that I'm following thinks that the scale and of this war is going to be something that uh, people are not ready for. It's going to be a major war. It's going to be fast. It's going to be very extreme, and Trump's highest priority is not success but also to keep it very very short. Trump, President Trump's highest priority is for this not to be a dragged out war, for it not to spill over into the entirety of the region, and for it to be extremely successful. And his legacy is on the line right now. If this war does not achieve its objectives, it will be very damaging to President Trump. And right now, it's not really a good time for President Trump to get any hits, um, especially given that his approval ratings are very low. And this war needs to be successful, and that means really making sure that American soldiers don't die. The highest priority is probably going to be to protect American soldiers. Second highest priority would be to make sure all the allies of United States in the region are completely defended, and preferably not a single missile landing in a city like Dubai or I think Tel Aviv is going to get hit a couple of you guys unfortunately are going to get hit with a few missiles because the wave of the missiles are going to be towards Israel, towards Tel Aviv, especially the most. So, and there's no way to stop all the missiles. So I just hope that the damage to Israel is minimum. Guys, by the way, I really really have to appreciate our Israeli friends right now, given that how much you guys are, the fact that Israel, every single Israeli that I've spoken to, they want this war to happen, even though Israel will be paying a price for it. um I just don't know how to express how grateful we are. And it seems like the main reason what that I'm seeing, like when I talk to Israelis, every single Israeli that I talk to or I've heard from, their reason for them wanting this war to happen is because they want Iran to be free. That is their main motivation, and I just want to express my appreciation. Beyond that, I do so I think actually that's going to be the main discussion that a lot of you want to talk about today. Uh, but I just want to mention that I was on the Persian channel. I was talking to my Persian speaking audience on the Persian channel today, and there was a lot of discussion regarding the future of Islam in Iran after the fall of the Islamic Republic, and also the consequences of that to Islam in the region as a whole, and also Islam globally, globally Islam, with the standing of Islam together. And we had a lot of interesting conversation about that. If you guys want to talk about that, you could ask me questions about that. How average Muslims are going to be in Iran after after the Islamic Republic falls, what the positions of mullahs going to be, what are hijabi women going to be treated like, how are mosques going to be treated like, would people be free to express, to promote Islam? what would be the government's role and positioning regarding Islam. And one very interesting conversation that we had at the end of our discussion in our community, on our Persian community, which was live streamed on our Persian channel, was regarding freedom, regarding insulting national symbols of Iran. And we had a very interesting disagreement and a heated debate over that. Like, are we going to allow, for example, is it going to be legal for people to insult the Shahnameh? You know, like, is that going to be legal or illegal, right? And we actually had a poll. I had a YouTube poll regarding that, and believe it or not, it was exactly 50-50. It was 50-50. So that was a very interesting poll. And if you guys want to talk about that, I would be interested to answer those questions as well. All right, so guys, I see people. I'm going to try to pay attention to the YouTube chat as well. And guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, there I'll post a link if you guys want to come up and speak in this group that we have right now here. The link is in the chat. But anyways, did we have any hands risen?
Very first on the list.
Okay.
Okay. Hi. I saw news that Iranians are out on the streets again yesterday and today. And I wanted to ask, why are they doing this? Aren't they going to get massacred again? Or is this in response to a request by the Shah?
Well, so the call to action by Prince Reza Pahlavi was regards to the chant. The response to that was the chants that you saw people from the rooftops and the windows coming in and chanting. And beyond people coming to the street, that by itself is very brave, because so the reason why you think that why are they doing that, for for context for people, is because after the massacre of early January, many people expected, like, okay, after this level of massacre by the Islamic Republic, killing more than 40,000, I think more than 50,000 Iranians, there is no way Iranian people will, and nobody will come out in the streets and be chanting against the Islamic Republic ever again. And I mentioned even then that, yeah, this is what we've heard every single time. Every single time we were told this is the last time the Iranian people come out. They're not going to come out again, and they come out every time that prediction ends up being wrong, and they come back into the streets. Right. The interesting thing about this round is that it took only 40 days for them to come back again. Right, which is like, usually when this level of massacre, it means that, yeah, they will come back again, but maybe in a couple of years, right? But the fact that the Iranian people experience the most extreme version of suppression and brutality by a regime that you could ever imagine, and they're now, within 40 days, they're back in the streets, is extraordinary. Like, the bravery is, I don't even know how to express the level of bravery that takes to do that. So I will respond to people coming back into the streets. But before that, the response to Prince Reza Pahlavi's call to action, which is where a lot of people came out and chanted from their windows and the rooftop, that is even, I mean, that might even be, in some cases, braver than coming into the streets, because you're doing it from your home. Like, so it's going to be easily identifiable. Like, you're there. You're like, we know where you live, right? And people could just record somebody chanting from the windows, like, okay, this is now recorded, so we're going to come arrest you. So that takes a huge level of bravery. And they do that. They know this. Like, they do that, and they know this, right? That this is, like, very dangerous. It's not like they're ill-informed or anything like that. And even more brave than that are the people who are coming out and chanting with loudspeakers. I don't know if you guys saw those videos. Some people went and got loudspeakers, and they opened their windows, and they were chanting, Javid Shah and Pahlavi will return. Some people were playing pro-Pahlavi songs from their windows, which is, I mean, is crazy courageous. I don't even know how to describe it. So that's that. Yeah, that has been in response to the call to action by the prince. With regards to people coming out, that's also in response to Chehelom, which is the 40-day memorial of the fallen, right? So in Iran, we have this tradition that when somebody dies, after 40 days, you have a second memorial. So you have one ceremony where you're burying the person, and then 40 days, you have another similar ceremony as a memorial for the people who have died. So the reason why all of these is happening is because now it's the memorial, memorial days for all of the people who died during the massacre of early January by the Islamic Republic, right? So a lot of people attend these, and usually, and this is not a new thing, like for the past decades or so, the memorial of the people who Islamic Republic kills usually turns into an act of protest itself. So the regime expected this to become turn into an act of protest, and they were ready. This is why we had so much security presence in the streets of Iran. As we were getting closer to the 40-day memorial of the fallen, the Islamic Republic. But the Islamic Republic did get caught off guard because they thought after the level of killing that we did, probably nobody would come out. But then we saw a huge number of people came out, and the regime, not only the regime is suppressing them, there is shooting again, like they're shooting into the crowds. And we saw in one of the memorial ceremonies, people were injured and some people were killed as well. Danny?
So I was trying to ask something slightly different. I thought they would come back out onto the streets either when the Shah asks them to, or right after the bombs start hitting. I wasn't questioning the bravery of Iranian people. I just thought that they were waiting for us to do our part first.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't suggesting that you were questioning it. I just used that opportunity. I just like to use that opportunity to mention that, right? So this is the I mean, if you know the tradition that we have when it comes to the 40th day anniversary, it was expected that this would happen on the 40th day anniversary, right? Because it's a tradition for this to happen. When it comes to waiting for Prince Reza Pahlavi's call to action, usually it's a chicken and egg situation, right? It's not that people are waiting for Prince Reza Pahlavi. It's also Prince Reza Pahlavi is waiting for the people, and it's like a mutual, it's a two-way communication. So they're both feeding off of each other, and they're signaling it to each other. Sometimes when you hear a call to action for Prince Reza Pahlavi, there's a spark started by the Iranian people, and then the Prince Reza Pahlavi acts like a catalyst, and just by giving a call to action, and he turns something small into something like a much bigger movement. That's what the role
basically coordinates people.
Yes, exactly. It basically, he amplifies the voice of the people back to the people.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Okay, next we have Alex S.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
So I'm going to ask and expand on what Danny mentioned. And I was wondering, when there's going to be a strike on Iran, would Iranian people play any distraction for the regime?
So you're saying when the United States strike the Islamic Republic, would the Iranian people be playing the role of distraction for the regime?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I'm pretty sure yes. Even if they don't come into the streets right at that moment, I'm pretty sure, given that mentally, if you're thinking the focus of the Islamic Republic when it comes to strategy has to be that, okay, we are basically being bombed from the air and we need to respond to that, but also at the same time, I mean, there is limited cognitive attention available for all the remaining leaders of the Islamic Republic, right? So if they have one mind on, okay, we're going to be bombed from the air, they have also, they also have one eye on, okay, the Iranian people are going to see this as an opportunity to come into the streets and topple me, right? So by the mere fact,
exactly,
by the
dual strategy.
Yeah, so by the mere fact that they're aware of that and they have to pay attention to that and they're nervous about that, and I would argue that they fear that even more than the aerial bombardment, because they think that this is going to be turned into a spark, especially when some regime leaders are killed. I think that when it comes out, when it's announced that Khamenei, for example, is dead, there is going to, that by itself will turn into a call to action. right? Because that by itself will turn into the idea from all sides, even the people who haven't been taking part in the street protest before. Many of them will be like, okay, this is the time. It seems like it's over. So, as big as the crowds were early January, the Iranian people came out in millions into the streets and basically shocked everybody, even shocked themselves. I think that's going to be small compared to the number of people who will show up when more people are convinced that, okay, maybe this is it, maybe the regime is going to fall, right? Because many people don't participate because they think like, yeah, I want the regime to go, but I don't think they're going to go. When you see, like, I don't know, Ghalibaf, Pezeshkian, Ejei, Radon, and Khamenei, if United States and or Israel take these people out, that will convince almost everybody, including many people from the regime itself, that okay, this is game over. And if people think this is game over, for every person that came out before, there's going to be multiple people that will come up tomorrow. I think everybody and their dog will show up as well, right? So I think you could see that the street protests will become even significantly bigger. And this is something that the Islamic Republic is worried about. So given that they have to pay attention to that and focus on that to some extent, I think this is going to, yes, weaken their ability to respond to either one.
Yeah, exactly. And may I add to this? If I were Iranian people, I would also be considering um, becoming volunteers for Mossad and CIA.
Oh, you don't need to consider that because they
Targets.
already have. They already have. Guys, the Mossad's problem in Iran is that they have too many applications. So don't worry about that. I'm pretty sure that, like, I don't know if you know this, Alex. I actually think that this is not an extraordinary claim to make, to say that most Mossad agents are now Iranian. I don't know if that's an extraordinary claim to make, but I think that is true. I think given the level of applications that Mossad has, and the number of people who want to become Mossad agents, if you add up the total number of Mossad agents, we now have more Iranian Mossad agents than Israeli Mossad agents, I think.
I mean, more like Mossad collaborators, but yeah, a lot. Like,
I mean, what's the definition of an agent? If you're collaborating, you're an agent. Like, yeah.
Fair enough. Like Mossad posted in multiple social networks a call for Iranians who want to give information or send videos or contact them, and they've been flooded. So yes, things are happening in the background. Don't worry about Mossad.
Yeah, it's not just that. Mossad also, you just want to say, let me just say, Mossad also posts links for people applying to become active, military. Daniel, I'm hearing some background noise. Let me if you can mute your mic, and then we'll go to Daniel. So guys, for example, during the 12-day war, before you guys saw so many, when there was reports of Mossad agents on the ground activating drones that took out the launchers before the Islamic Republic could use them. So those people, those are Iranians. Like, so we're not just talking about people who give information. We're talking about people who live in Iran, who are always active. They're like as active. They're living there, waiting for orders. They're also Iranian, right? So they get trained by Mossad. They get equipped by. They get filtered. They get trained. They get equipped, and they're ready in Iran, ready to operate. So beyond just passing information, when it comes to special military operations, we also have Iranian Mossad agents that are active. But Daniel, go on. But I think it was Alex that had a background. Alex, can you close your mic while Daniel is speaking? Because we're getting some background noise. So go on, Daniel. You wanted to add something to this?
Yeah, actually, like 10 or 12 years ago, Israel launched a big program, especially like in the center of Israel, for kids in schools go and learn Urdu and Farsi. Well, I'm not sure about Urdu, but I'm pretty sure about Farsi. So Mossad is always working on that matter.
Right. So let me just add something. Yep. Okay, Daniel. No, thank you, Daniel. Let me just add some. Go on. Sorry, you wanted to add something? Go ahead.
Oh, it was actually like I added on what Alex was talking about previously. But if you have something to add on it,
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Then I'll add after. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. The other thing is a question about more American politics. I'm just curious how much Trump cares about his ratings. Like, I'm not sure he cares about ratings right now, but I'm far from USA, so I don't actually can like have a say on it.
Okay, if you say President Trump doesn't care about ratings, then I don't think you know President Trump at all. Okay, I think it's the number one thing that he cares about. His entire life, all his life, his number one priority has been ratings. Okay, ratings. That's like that's his main priority over everything else, right? Let me actually write this. Oh, what was I going to say? Oh, one thing that I noticed in regards to Mossad is that recently they posted something warning Iranians regarding other places that are accepting Mossad applications, which is not like Mossad itself. So it was telling Iranians that if you want to work with Mossad, these are the only places that you should be contacting. Don't contact anywhere else, which shows how many Iranians want to work with Mossad, given that the way to trap them is to be like, hey, we're Mossad, send us information. Like, think about this. Like, it's not like sexy girls or like, I don't know, you know how sometimes the different intelligence, when they want to basically trick people into
Honey trap.
getting tempted. Hold on just one second. Tempting people to fool them, phishing attempts, or other agents that you have that acts like a sexy girl and tries to pretend to be a revolutionary, and basically it's none of that. Like, if you want to tempt the Iranian people and try to get them to expose themselves, the best way to tempt them is to tell them that you're Mossad, okay? which shows the priorities of the Iranian people. That's how you trick them, okay? All right. Okay, so Alex, I think go on, Daniel.
Like it's more of my observation. Before the 12-day attack, Israeli media was going crazy on like super unrelated stuff, like Bibi's son wedding that was deleted, postponed at the last moment. After that, there was so many like, oh, Bibi say that, or Trump say that, no, and when nobody was actually waiting for the attack, that has happened. Now, currently, I don't see too much on it, and that's might be just a like opposite psychology or something like this. So
Okay.
just
All right. So Daniel, if you want to if you want to add, let's actually go with the list. Okay. So let's actually try to, because I want to make sure that we respect the order of the list that we have.
Yeah, go ahead and take over. I'm done.
Okay. Thank you, Alex. Thank you. Okay. So who's
You're
next?
welcome.
It was Daniel Dome after Alex.
Oh,
But
okay,
I wanted to make a very brief comment. We're just 1 + 1 is 2. If Mossad is actually Iranians and Mossad runs the world, don't Iranians run the world?
Okay.
Does that
I
mean that
just-
Iranians? Wait, you gotta take it a step further. So Iranians are the real Jews, and this
Yes.
is how they control the world.
Yeah, I feel like we need a break.
Israeli Iranians, Jewish Iranians might control the world.
Yeah, we need a break. And so if anyone is anti-Semitic and watching, it's actually the Iranians. Thank you. Okay, next it was Daniel Dome. So if the question that you asked was already, you just presented it, or you have something else?
No, that's what I wanted to ask.
Oh, okay.
So,
sorry, Daniel. I didn't know. I thought you were responding to Alex. I didn't know you were basically using your turn. I apologize.
Look, I like he just made some statements and questions, and like I wanted to ask it anyways and say stuff anyways, so we just connected.
Awesome.
Okay,
All
so
right.
next we have Sapir with her own question and then reading a private question from chat.
I'm going to start with the reading Roman's question. So they wrote, after deliberation, how would the Shah and other important people be protected before the elections until there is a power structure in place? The terrorists left could make trouble.
Yeah, that's actually a very good question, which is a major concern that we all have, especially given that Prince Reza Pahlavi, in one of his messages, might have suggested that he will come to Iran even before the Islamic Republic has completely fallen. I don't know why he said that, but I would recommend against it. The highest priority should be to save his life and protect him at all costs. But when it comes to, I think like we should. I hope Princess Pahlavi comes back after the country is somewhat stabilized, right? So, with regards to his security, like we don't have any Iranian like, because I wouldn't trust anybody from the Artesh for a long time, you know. So where are we? Are we going to have like, and we like bodyguards and a security company is not, or maybe like we're going to go, maybe we could hire like a private military security company for a while to carry out the
Blackwaters.
protection. Yeah, well, yeah. Okay, guys, close your mics while before like sorry guys, because I'm gonna lose my chain of thought. Not them, because they have a bad record. They have a bad record, so that's not going to be good for his credibility. But there are many of them available. So I know a lot of Iranians would be willing to die for him and basically sacrifice whatever they need to protect his life. But they're not. The Iranians are not trained like the Artesh is trained, but the Artesh has to be able to filter who in the Artesh is trustworthy and who isn't. One of the most important things that we need to be worried about is whether one of the people who are supposed to be protecting him end up being one of the assassins, right? So how are we going to make sure? So they have to be very trained, very much trained. Princess Pahlavi security team needs to be trained, and they need to be filtered in a way to make sure that they also don't have any pro-regime or pro-MEK or pro-Marxist agenda secretly infiltrating his security team. So, given that the only people who are trained when it comes to military, military tactics or security is the IRGC and the Artesh, and given how much these both, even the Artesh has been the IRGC obviously, but even the Artesh has been running under the Islamic Republic for so many years. Even if many people come from there and pledge complete loyalty to Princess Pahlavi, I'm not going to be trusting them completely to be side by side next to Princess Pahlavi for a couple of years. I have to see how this goes, right? So I think a foreign private company would be required. Those things are expensive, by the way. I don't even know if we have the money for that. I do think that maybe getting the Americans and Israelis involved would have some PR issues when it comes to right at the beginning. Like I wouldn't think that it's going to be damaging after everything is settled for the Americans to have military bases inside Iran as an ally, just like they have in Germany or South Korea and many other countries. I don't think that's going to be an issue. But if right at the beginning, Princess Pahlavi comes inside Iran with the U.S. military as its defense team, that is not going to look very good at all. Or Israel, that's going to be like, oh, look, the Americans brought their puppet inside Iran, right? So, and even if you hire a private security, company like a military, and I'm sure Jeffrey will have the solution for us. So I know everybody's waiting for Jeffrey to answer this question, but I'm just trying to guess before Jeffrey gives us the actual answer. Oh, Susie is here. So if you are going to be hiring a private, military company, would that I mean, the best ones are American and Israeli. So would that be a PR nightmare issue? So again, I give up. I don't know what the answer is. Jeffrey, help us out here. How would you pull this up? I'm not hearing. Guys, are you hearing something? I'm not hearing.
Which
Jeffrey.
is,
Oh, Jeffrey,
can you hear me?
Can you repeat, because I didn't have you for
Can
a
you hear
while.
me now?
Yeah, I
better?
have you now. Yes.
All right. So there's a reason I said what I said yesterday regarding some of the things that need to be done to set up the post-Mullah, like the post-Mullah transition, like Iran's version of Department of Homeland Security in the post-Mullah transitionary period. And part of that has a couple of lines of effort. One is recognizing His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi as the official transition government in exile, because that allows other things to happen. The other one is then creating a private military contracting company. I'm almost done for you. It's coming, I promise. It's just a lot of work. Amongst the, that draws amongst the anti-Mullah, pro-Pahlavi diaspora. There's a reason I'm like, those allow you to do certain legal things. That being said, why do you draw from the pro, the anti-Mullah element and pro-Pahlavi element within the broader anti-Mullah and or Persian diaspora? Here's the issue. So private military contractors, a lot of that was like looked at in the beginning part of the global war on terror, like 2002, 3, and the reason that some of that was pushed was to circumvent some of the bullshit restrictions that interventionists tried to place on U.S. intervention into Iraq and all this. So like radical leftists, to a less degree, Ron Bots, all these other douchebags, right? And it did. It gave you ways to get around it. Here's the problem, though, and you kind of touched on it. You danced on it. There's a big difference between a mercenary and a soldier, particularly on the context of their motive. A soldier, or say someone who is committed to ensuring security during the transitionary period, yes, that is their main motive, is far more committed to carrying that out, even at the cost of their life. Conversely, a mercenary's main motive is profit. They fight only for themselves, which is why a soldier almost always will be far more committed and less apt to cut and run than a mercenary. Because for a mercenary, you have to be alive to get paid. So that's why you'd have to draw from the anti-Mullah Persian and pro-Prince Pahlavi Persian diaspora, because their motives go beyond personal interest. Now, I know that probably doesn't sit very well with you because you're very heavy personal interest. I'm not saying that isn't a secondary motive. You don't want to be poor. I'm saying that there's a reason that you should, above and beyond the optics issue that you rightly touched. I mean, I don't want U.S. or Israeli forces to be there, because that would leave the transition government open to all this bullshit rhetoric. It needs to be run by Iran's global diaspora. That being said, there's certain ways you have to do that. I'm in the process of fleshing that out for you.
Oh, well, thank you.
I will also add that what would most likely happen is that you'd have organization like the Mossad working in the background. Like, obviously, there's a great interest for Israel to make sure that Pahlavi will stay safe and alive. So I won't be surprised if the Mossad works in the background to make sure he'll be safe. We already have so many examples of specific operations that we didn't know for years about how like they protected certain people. It's also a good question of like when Pahlavi would want to come back to Iran, because we have like, after Khamenei dies, or like, there's a full collapse of the IRGC. That there are all kinds of things that can go into it. And I don't think we're at the point of really knowing, because we need to see the collapse first to see how well that goes, or when it's like the right time to get in. So an update in Israel, most cities here have opened their shelters already, but there's still no official orders. They're nothing to be like stay close to shelter. There wasn't even been ordered for cities to open shelters, but they just preemptively started to open it. Wait, let me see what I wrote down.
Sapir, before we move on to you as well in the list, do you mind if we add Susie in, as she has a time limit, and then maybe we can pick up whenever you have your question right after?
Yeah, no problem. Whatever needed.
Beautiful.
Go ahead, Susie.
Well, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm back. My question is pretty short. So something that I've been wondering about recently is I've seen a fatality count going around of like 90,000 to 100,000. But I was wondering if anyone has is there any credibility to this? Is there any sourcing for this? Like, I'm really good at researching and determining this information, and I cannot find any reliable source for that large of a fatality count. So I was wondering, like, is there something that other people know that I don't know?
I mean, I've seen that number as well. I haven't seen the source for it. The numbers that have the highest number that have good sources is above 50,000. So I haven't seen what the source of the 100,000 number of the casualties for the massacre in early January in Iran has been, but if you do find the source, I wouldn't be surprised.
Sure.
Yeah, and I do think it's probably like, well, I shouldn't say it. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the real number, based on so many things I've heard from people inside Iran, and if you add them all up.
Sure. I mean, I
Yeah.
know that it's really hard to determine in these circumstances, and I mean,
Yeah.
we're also considering like the amount of people who have been arrested and imprisoned since. Like, that is easily 40,000 to 50,000.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I've been. Okay, that's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, let's actually see if anybody else has answer for you. Does anybody else have an answer for Susie regarding this new number? Like, I don't want to be I think anybody going once.
There's no really reliable, like I heard claims that go all the way from 40,000 to 100,000. Like it's not something that I would start to spread around. Like I would just say that the current number is officially around 40,000, but we know that it's probably more.
Yeah.
Like that is the safe thing to say. And in general, if you ever talking to someone to try to explain what's happening, and that's like referred to everyone, and I know you're streaming this on YouTube as well, so for everyone like in the chat as well that want to talk about the situation, as much as we want to show the urgency of what's happening, because we don't have a confirmation that it got to that high of a number, even though it's very likely that it did, try to stay with the quote unquote minimum and say that this is probably more because of the blackout. Okay, sorry. Sorry,
Go
what
on.
did you say?
No, go on, Sapir. Go on.
Okay. What do we know about the state of the IRGC control right now? What part is the revolution controlling? What parts are what cities are in control of the IRGC? Like what do we see in that state?
Oh, remember you're talking about. Let me know if I'm understanding you right now. You're saying from a geographical perspective, how much of Iran is under the control of IRGC right now?
Yes. Yes, and
All of it.
specifically maybe yeah,
All of it.
like
Yeah.
okay. And with the current protest that we see,
Steph, can you like open your mic when it's your turn, okay? Because I don't want to. It's going to be like a little bit
Sorry,
chaotic.
I won't do it again. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Thank you, Steph. I know you're eager, and I appreciate that. But yeah, we'll get But go on, Sapir.
I'm emotional, not eager, but yeah, I'm gonna shut up.
That's okay. That's okay. Don't shut up. Don't shut up. But yeah, go on, Sapir. Sorry.
Yeah. Do we see around the same level of protest as the first wave? Like, do we see more, like a lot of people on the street, or it's mainly what you said earlier when it's like people are chanting from the houses or singing or like
right now the protest in Iran
right now.
Okay. The January 8th and January 9th protests, like that was like a different level. Like obviously it's not even remote right now. This is pretty impressive given that anybody's coming out, given that the Islamic Republic massacred like more than 40,000 people in the streets. But no, not at it's nothing compared to the January 8th and January 9th. Like we had millions of people in the streets. Like it was a sea of people in every single city and town in Iran. Like that was on a completely different level. So it's not that. If it was that, we would be seeing videos of like sea of people taking over. And by the way, if that happens, the internet would be cut completely inside Iran. All communication lines will be cut, internet will be cut. So no, we don't have that right now.
And I'm also I've seen that some of the families of like key members of IRGC have been declaring their support to Pahlavi. What do you think that first will happen to those family members? Like, you think they will get hurt, and second, what do you think the effect might be as in the context of the revolution? Like, do you think that it will help make a transition smoother, or like to have more maybe to encourage them to act more? Like, are we going to see more assassination attempts maybe?
Wait, so you're saying you've seen some IRGC the family of some IRGC members in Iran are
openly declaring
on social media, all right, declaring their support for Prince Reza Pahlavi. You're saying what are the consequences of doing that?
Yes.
And the second part of your question is that like once they are punished, what would that punishment's effect be on the revolution?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So it really depends. Okay. It depends on the family member, and it depends on how high level the IRGC man in the house, how high of a level it is, right? So if you are a family of IRGC member and you declare your support for Pahlavi, if that person, the husband, the father in the house, is a low level IRGC member, then that family member will be punished, and there's nothing that person could do about it if they wanted to stop it, right? So they will be punished severely, just like anyone else who's caught supporting for Prince Reza Pahlavi. If they are higher up levels, then they might have the ability to basically beat them up themselves, rather than, so they will go, once they get arrested, they will go to prison. They don't even have to. Once they realize that this is the daughter or the son of a high-ranking member of IRGC, they will just deliver them to the father, and the father will probably beat the crap out of them at home. And they would not stay in jail. They would just get beaten by their parents. Sometimes they might even get killed by their parents if the father thinks that there's no saving this person, right? But with regards to the consequences to the revolution, it's just it depends on whether or not these stories get out, and obviously it has two effects. If these stories get out, if what they do to these people, if it gets out, first of all, it will the the other than the fact that the more people we lose, the more Iranians get motivated to come and finish the job of the Islamic Republic. I mean, one of the most famous chants by the Iranian people is "Hay nafar kushte she, hazar nafar pushte she," which means that for everyone that you kill, there's 1,000 other people behind them that are willing to participate and, continue the revolution. So there's that. But beyond that, because they're IRGC family members, it has two other effects. First of all, it encourages it gives a signal to the Iranian people that there's cracks within the Islamic regime from the inside, and it is falling for it motivates them more to continue because they see that even within their own households they're turning against them. So it will signal to them that we're getting close to the finish line. But also the effect on IRGC people themselves. There are many people. I mean, I know these people are Dorka jihadis, but a lot of them, I mean, they're still human, and they're still affected by human emotions. I think because some of them,
to some degree, because honor killing is still very prevalent.
No, I know. I'm just saying some of them will still, like the fact that this will affect many people who are loyal, like these stories getting out will affect some IRGC members or people around, like families of IRGC members, and it will speed up the division inside and the cracking from the inside, which is the main thing we need to get to the finish line. Many people forget this third element. Everybody's focusing on external pressure from United States and Israel as element number one of pressure against the Islamic Republic. The Iranian people who want to topple the regime in the millions, and as the pressure number two against the Islamic Republic. But the third one, which is the most important one, is division within Islamic Republic itself. That is going to be the most important pressure point against the Islamic Republic, and these types of stories will help exactly that.
Okay, one last thing. I'm sorry that I'm taking so long. So you said earlier that Pahlavi is waiting for something from the Iranian people. What do you think? Like he's waiting for? Like is he waiting for an attack from the U.S. or or is he waiting for something, a specific achievement from the Iranian people?
Well, I don't know which conversation I had you're referring to. I said usually Prince Reza Pahlavi, when it comes to giving calls to actions, it's not like he's just waiting for them. There's it's not like a line that needs to be. He's in continuous communication with people on the ground inside Iran. So the decisions he makes and the strategies he has is like dynamic, right? It's not the Iranian people waiting and he orders and then the Iranian people do what he says based on make the next plan based on his call to action. It's the communication is both ways, right? So he communicates to the Iranian people, gives the call to action, but the Iranian people are also giving him feedback. They're moving, they're communicating with what their strategies are, and he makes plans accordingly. So that's what I was suggesting. But the main thing everyone is waiting for right now, it's not just Prince Reza Pahlavi, but everybody's waiting for is for America and Israel to strike. That's what everybody's waiting for right now.
Okay. And one thing, I don't know, I haven't been able to be in the streams that much. I don't know if you know it, but multiple Israeli officials have been stating and asking from Iranian people to go away from very specific areas of interest. And like that's been happening in the past 2 days.
Right.
Yeah. But
so the recommendation is going to always be that as soon as the strikes happen, like Iranian people need to identify two things. They need to identify as much as they can, right? These days, they need to identify where military assets are. And as soon as the attack starts, to move as far as away from them as they possibly can. Another thing that the Iranian people need to identify now, these days, is where the regime forces sleep. Okay, where do they sleep at night? Where do they live? And as soon as things get chaotic, they need to pay them a visit.
Okay, thank you. Armin.
Thank you, Sapir. And guys, by the way, Steph also raised her hand. Can she be added to the list as well? Because I saw her raise her hand.
She already is. Yep.
Oh,
Nail Bunny asked that you please check your Telegram.
oh okay.
And next on the list we have Cat Lady.
Hi, I'm not sure. Okay, my camera doesn't work, I guess. Okay. Oh, it does.
Yay!
It was,
That's great.
It was very delayed, but it does. Okay, so I wanted to add one thing. Maybe I'm not super connected because I've had enough of news. I cannot. I just don't watch the news like at all. Like so, but I was forced to because I was in my visiting some people. Never mind. So I saw some push messages and I got into it. What I saw was one detail. One report said that the cabinet meeting will be delayed to Sunday. And right at the same time, I saw some message from, I think from a Telegram group of news, which said there is like I'm not sure how it's called. It's like it's now classified like to say when and where it will happen. Just say. So it sounds like maybe they're having a meeting. Just one detail. Maybe someone can shed light onto it. So whenever we will be ready, I guess, right?
Do you want to
Right.
tell me Hebrew, like what did you say? Like maybe I'll have a better translation.
What are you asking?
Like, do you want to tell me in Hebrew what did you say?
I mean, Cat Lady speaks perfect English, so I don't know if we need
no,
to.
but
explain
can you ask what you didn't understand? And maybe
Never mind. It's fine.
No, but okay. If you have
Maybe
some
you
information, I would love to know.
Yeah. By the way, if you could maybe Cat Lady, maybe you could post a link to with this information that you have in the chat.
Good
Yeah,
idea.
okay.
I'll do that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Good to see you, Cat Lady. I'm glad your camera was working. Okay, next is Danny.
All right. Hi. So I think it's a completely different group of people today. So I wanted to share again something that I showed to Adam before. Let me figure out screen sharing 1 second. All right, I found it. So this is a motion from the Canadian House of Commons from March of 2024. And I wanted to show it because this is what radicalized me against the Liberal Party and the NDP over here. So it's an opposition motion, so it's non-binding on the government, but it just shows where the parties stand. And, it's got some misinformation as statements of facts and then some anti-Israel conclusions based on this. So to just go over the worst part of the misinformation.
Wait, this is the NDP?
Yeah, this was put out by the NDP, and I'll give you a spoiler now. The votes are all of the Conservatives voted no, all of the Liberals except 2 voted yes, and all of the NDP voted yes. And then I don't really care about the other parties.
What are they saying against Israel?
Right, so for the misinformation
Sorry,
portion,
I had to ask because it wouldn't let me type it.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Steph, wait. Like
What's
Danny.
NBT? What's NBT?
Oh,
okay. Sorry. No, that's a good question.
Okay.
So,
sorry.
In Canada, the 3 biggest parties right now are the Liberal
Oh,
Party,
sorry,
the Conservative
Steph.
Party,
I
and
forgot.
the NDP.
I forgot that you guys are not Canadian. I'm sorry. Yes, good. NDP is one of the major.
Yeah, I forgot to.
Yes. Sorry, we need to explain.
Okay.
NDP
So
is
we're
one of
talking
the.
about Canada Parliament.
Yeah, it's one of
so
the
we're
major
talking about-
parties in Canada. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Steph. Okay. Thank you for asking.
The NDP and Liberals are the 2 left parties, and it's usually those 2 parties versus the Conservatives, and then either those 2 make a coalition or the Conservatives win. Lately, the other 2 have.
Okay, just tell us what they're doing against Israel.
Okay,
what they're saying.
so we have in the information section, they claimed that 30,000 people died, with 70% of them being women and children, which is quoted directly from Hamas. So this is for March 2024. So at the time, I don't think Israel was putting out any numbers, but it was believed to be lower because Hamas put out those numbers. And 70% women and children is wildly inaccurate, because this number was even a couple of months later silently edited down by the Iranian Hamas, but that's a different story. We have risk of starvation, death, and disease, which seems to suggest that Gaza is at a risk for famine caused by Israel, which wasn't true at the time. And when Gaza did become at risk for famine later, Israel ended up distributing food to basically Hamas in order to prevent it. And they've even stopped fighting to vaccinate the population of Gaza at some point. So this is also basically slander. Where is it this? Yeah. So they decided to suggest that Israel is not following international humanitarian law, which, by the way, I don't think I see here anything about Palestinians not following international humanitarian law, or anything about the way they've treated the hostages. But that's okay. And the other really offensive part to me was Israel has a right to defend themselves, but the price of defeating Hamas cannot be the continuous suffering of all Palestinian civilians. So I'm not really clear whether this means that they think Israel does have the right to defend themselves or not. Right? And also there's an obligatory mention too, extremist settler violence, which in my view is a way to try to blame Israel for the Israeli-Arab conflict that's been going on for like 100 years and is in no way caused by settlers, or I would even disagree that it's in any way encouraged by settler violence.
So just
pure jihad.
Random anti-Israeli BS. That's basically the gist of it.
Yes.
It's the usual propaganda.
It's the usual propaganda.
We don't need to go through the rest of it. We have heard this for
No, this is where it gets to the worst part, in my opinion. This is what they resolved to do, right? And out of these 10 points, I believe 9 were against Israel and 1 was neutral. So we have demand an immediate ceasefire, release of all hostages, and Hamas must lay down its arms. But in my opinion, these 2 are fake, because if Hamas doesn't release hostages and doesn't lay down its arms, they're still going to call for a ceasefire from Israel. And conversely, they're not going to do anything to Hamas for this. Cease further authorization and transfer of arms exports to Israel. So something against Israel. And increase efforts to stop the illegal trade of arms, including to Hamas, which is, in my opinion, also completely fake, because Canada isn't in the business of that. And should continue funding to UNRWA. So I hope we know here why that's bad. Support the prosecution of all crimes and violations of international law committed in the region. But I haven't seen Canada in any way supporting prosecution of crimes and violations of international law committed against Israelis. Support ICJ and ICC when they're passing resolutions against Israel. Demand unimpeded humanitarian access to Gaza. This one is kind of fair. It's about Canadians in Gaza. Sanction extremist settlers and maintain sanctions on Hamas leaders. So this is do nothing, and this is sanction individual Israelis. Reaffirm that settlements are legal under international law, and advocate for a decades-long occupation, and also establish the state of Palestine. So basically, all points against Israel. And yeah, what I wanted to show was that liberals, all but 2 of them voted yes, and NDP, all of them voted yes. So that's why I'm conservative, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why I have to be pigeonholed into a party like this, but this is extreme in our view.
Yeah, that's pathetic. That's pathetic.
May I just say that it's incredibly ironic from Canada, out of all of the countries to complain about violation of the Geneva Convention, considering they are the reason that the Geneva Convention was formed?
Tell more,
Yeah.
tell more, because I don't even know that.
You didn't know
I
that?
don't know.
Maybe for another time. I can post something about it. Like, I
Well,
don't want to disrupt the.
Yeah, Canada during the World War, Canada treated all the list of human rights violations as a checklist that they needed to go through and accomplish. They saw it as an accomplished list and tried to go through all of them multiple times. So they saw it as a challenge, as a competition.
And they were basically
I
the
don't even,
the
I
alarm
can't
bells
process
that were
exactly.
yeah, they were basically the alarm bell that caused the chain of events to get to the Geneva Convention as a thing.
Right. So yeah, by the
Okay.
way, it's really embarrassing. Like, I just want to say, guys, it's really embarrassing. As a Canadian, I apologize to my Israeli friends. Okay, I think that by being an Iranian citizen, I make up for it by the mass support of the Iranian people for Israel. So, as my Canadian side, I have to apologize for on behalf
We
of
all
Canada.
we all have stupid politicians, Armin. I don't need to work on it.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, we do have. Yeah, but I'm sorry.
Before we move on to next in the list, there was a very funny explanation for non-Canadians in the chat of the Canadian parties that I'd like to read out loud. Democrat, Liberal Democrat, National Liberal, Democratic Canada for life, Liberal Canada forever, Liberal for real this time, Extremely Liberal National, and Communists United. Okay, so next we have Steph.
Steph.
Hello. Hey guys.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm sorry. I'm like the rudest member of this group. Sorry. So I actually have a question that's not even probably has an answer, but I was wondering if you would do, there was just a very interesting interview with Aaron Malone and Ambassador the former ambassador of Israel, what's his name? David Freeman. And I just like would so love Armin's take on it. It was very much related to exactly what we're in right now and like the likelihood of what Trump's going to do and not do. And so I don't know, ever since I started watching you guys, I'm like so interested in your like take on that kind of stuff. So that was my
Do you want
question.
to?
So I don't
Do you
know
want to
if it's a
summarize
question.
it? Do you want to Do you want to like
Oh,
give or just
yeah,
ask
well,
questions
I
based on what
don't
you heard?
because it was very specific and nuanced in terms of yeah, this is why I'm not on television.
Okay, how about
I
this?
don't
Do you
know.
want to
I
link
don't
it?
think
Do you want to link it in the
yeah.
chat?
Yeah, because there's just certain things that you guys react to that I find so helpful in terms of like explaining it to the rest of the world. Separate from the fact that I'm now supposed to fly to Athens in the next 24 hours, but that's not even a thing. Let's just not even talk about that. But yeah, so yeah, I'm just
Link it in the
curious
chat.
because
Link it in the chat.
okay,
Yeah.
let me do that. And I had another question, but I don't remember, so I'll just do that. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
No worries.
So next on the list, we have a statement from Samantha. She says that she'd like to wish everyone a happy second night of Ramadan, and Baruch Hashem, may the Islamic Republic fall by the end of Ramadan.
Okay. By the way, I mean,
Uh,
okay. By the way, don't tell Iranians happy Ramadan. They might swear at you. No, seriously, you might not get a good reaction from Iranians.
What? I
Okay,
thought they love
Samantha.
Islam.
Yeah.
Take that note, Samantha. Okay, so Armin, for my question, I wanted you to touch on.
I remember my question. I don't know who's talking right now, so I'll tell you after.
Maybe we could allow BT to ask her question. What do you think, BT? Or is that
Sure,
okay?
go ahead. Go ahead, Steph.
Okay.
Go ahead, Steph.
And then go ask your question. or maybe not. Steph? No, I can't even speak. All right, BT, let's move on then. She's not opening her mic.
Armin, I would love for you to touch on a little more, if you would. You had talked about that you spoke with the Persian audience about Islam within Iran after the fall. Is there anything specifically that you might highlight for us here for your English-speaking audience in regard to that conversation?
Oh yeah, so I mentioned on our Persian channel regarding the consequences of the fall of the Islamic Republic for the religion of Islam in the region beyond just inside Iran. By the way, I just gotta wait before I answer this. I just got a super chat from the traveling clad. Look at this! Oh my god! There's oh my god! Saying shout out.
Hi, yeah.
Hey, Tal is here, guys. Tal is saying
Can
shout
you
out to
invite him
our.
over?
Oh yeah, maybe I should. Okay, if I invite him over, he's gonna think like, you know what? I'm never gonna say hi to these people ever again because every time I say
No,
hi
not
to
at
them,
all. Not at all.
they
Absolutely
drag
not.
me into a group. But I'm gonna
Okay,
post a
I
link.
can't speak for everybody, but I
Well,
promise I'll be here.
let me just say this, guys. So Tal, no pressure. I'm not gonna force you. But there's a link for our group discussion if you want to join this group that we're having a conversation in. If you want to come and join us and hang out here, we're gonna be nice, okay? But no pressure. But let me just read his super chat. He's saying shout out
He'll
to
be
Armin
super
for.
down.
Wait, what? Let me just read the super chat. Saying shout out to Armin for being the best Azizam in the Azizam cinematic universe, and for BT for being the best. What? Kapara? What is that?
Kapara means like a
friend,
like my
Oh.
life, like not my life, but like just like a good friend, like the best friend, basically.
Oh, the best Kapara. Okay. I'm gonna use that word now.
Kapara means
It's a slang.
It's a really nice one. It's
Yeah.
a nice one.
Yeah, it's a
a weird
slang. It's
slang.
something in between.
No, that's so sweet. Love you, Tal. Thank you for coming here, Azizam.
It's the weirdest slang. It's supposed to be like something you sacrifice, like a goat or whatever, but it means like deep love.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, we have that in
So
Persian.
it's like something
what?
that
Don't bring
it's something that is like
sacrifice. No.
sacred. It has a high regard.
Yeah, we
But
have
it's
that in
slang.
Persian, like Qorbunet Beram. We say that exact same thing in Persian. Yeah. Okay. All right.
As long as
Well-
Tal doesn't want to eat my liver, then I think we'll keep it to the
Tal does not want to eat your liver. I can already say that for a fact.
Okay. But why not? That's actually very sweet when somebody wants to eat your liver.
Really sweet. Oh, that's the Persian way of saying he loves her. Oh yeah. Okay. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Let's go back. What was the question? I lost my. By the way, I don't know if Tal is here. Okay. So I don't know if he's still around. But okay. So the question was. Oh yeah. So on the Persian channel, I was talking to our Persian-speaking audience, and we were talking about the fall of the Islamic Republic and the consequences to that when it comes to the position of Islam, not just inside of Iran, but also outside of Iran. For inside of Iran, I think we could actually, I don't know which one you're more interested in. For inside of Iran, we were talking about how the government will probably be secular and not have any anti-Islamic positioning beyond just not allowing Islam inside the government, and also beyond not allowing government funds to be used for building mosques or Islamic teaching, and people will still be allowed to build their mosques if they use their own private money, right? So it's not going to be like it's not like the hijab is going to be banned. It's not like going to be that people can't read their Quran. People will be free to read the Quran. People will be free to pray. People would be free to probably even advertise Islam, like go out and advertise Islam, but just without government money, right? So, but that's from the government's perspective. But from the people's perspective, we were wondering if there's going to be a shame culture against Muslims. Like we're going to have a calling out, like whether it's going to be difficult for you to, I don't know, maybe get a job if you are a religious Muslim, right? Whether if people are going to not hire you if they notice that you're not eating during Ramadan, right? Whether if somebody says, I don't know, Ya Ali or Ya Hussein, if somebody's going to swear at you to tell you to shut the fuck up, if you all of a sudden say something Islamic, whether women with hijab,
Realistically, you're gonna have that. You not probably not not systematically, but you're gonna have that, and you're probably gonna have it for a while, especially right after in the first few months.
right? And I think that we shouldn't be like, I don't think that needs to be called out as something bad, because I think I understand it, right? I mean, if people understand the trauma the Iranian people had to deal with for the past 47 years, I don't think that people from outside saying like going, that's bad, you shouldn't be doing that. I think that is I think that would not be welcome. I think the level after, especially the massacre of early January, some of that, as Sapir is saying, it could be expected and not even blameworthy, in my opinion, right?
It's not something you should blame on. It's something that we can say, oh, okay, it's not ideal, but it's also like, what do you expect? Like, of
Right.
course, there's gonna be something.
Yes, but it's also legal. I think it's like we cannot ban this. You cannot, like the best you could expect is for the government not to ban Islam. Okay, but if you're not banning Islam, you can't ban hating Islam, right? You could suggest people like, oh, be nicer to Muslims. You could do that, okay, but you can't make it illegal for people to go out and say like, yeah, Allah Akbar, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up with your Allah Akbar. Okay, you could basically call it
What
out as
I'm
like,
worried
hey,
about.
but I'm just saying, like, you could suggest to people like, oh, people be nicer, and you could make that suggestion, but the government can't come and get involved and tell you to be respectful to Muslims. But go on, Sapir, what are you going to say?
What I'm worried about is that we're gonna see, not exactly massacres, but there will be chasing, and like physical harming and some killing of Muslims. That's what I'm afraid is going to happen, and I feel like it's going to happen
I
in a
think
very certain
I
scale.
think I think that's going to happen to regime officials, not just average Muslims. I think average Muslims, I don't think so. Mullahs, maybe. Okay, so mullah is not an average Muslim, and I'm not. By the way, I'm not endorsing this, right? But I'm
No,
saying
we're just trying to be realistic.
yes, I'm thinking that if you were or continue to be a mullah, your safety would be at risk. But if you were an average Muslim, you're not going to be hunted down just for being a Muslim. Okay, but it is possible. One thing that would reduce that risk is Prince Reza Pahlavi coming out and calling it out and saying like this shouldn't happen. And given the amount of respect he has, that would probably be that would have a huge impact in limiting that level of violence. One thing that would limit that violence is a Swiss, like a very, extreme fast justice for like again against the people who have been part of the regime. Because if the people think like, okay, the punishment is not coming fast enough and harsh enough, then they might get frustrated enough to try to maybe basically settle some scores themselves. So it's very important for the next government to be able to deliver justice to Iranian people fast, right? However, I do think that during the revolution phase, before the transitional period comes into effect, it is fair for the Iranian people. Like, I wouldn't call it settling score. I think that if you're still in the revolution period, taking out regime forces is basically self-defense, right? It only becomes I think the only time you should be quitting taking out regime forces is once we're officially have moved into the transitional government phase. But as long as we're still in the revolution phase, I think regime forces are fair game, in my opinion, right? But again, those are regime forces. We're talking about Muslims and Islam, right? And even if we want to, like, I do understand that some Muslims would be unfairly targeted, maybe. I don't think it's going to be as big as some people are worried about, but it will happen and it will get reported on. And people will exaggerate how common that has become. Even if you get one, like a few reports, it will get a lot of attention and a lot of headlines covering it. However, I do want people to remind people that it's nothing compared to what non-Muslims had to experience under the Islamic Republic. Like, it's not even going to be close.
It's
So
also
there's
important
that.
to mention that no matter what happens, no matter even if like it just like right now we already see like it's actually Mossad doing all of this and it's not the actually the Iranian people. Just no matter what, you're gonna have people with interest demonizing all of this, like the entire change, the entire like we always gonna have those people, and it's always gonna be circulating.
Right.
Like we can only do what we can.
So, for the past 2 decades, one thing that we hear inside Iran is that hiç Irani Musalman nist va hiç Musalmani Irani nist. Okay, this is a common thing that people say, which is no Iranian is Muslim and no Muslim is Iranian. So basically, this belief not everybody believes this in Iran, but the idea is that if you're a Muslim, then you're not an Iranian. Right, you can't be both at the same time, right? And many people continue to have that belief, and the massacre of early January has convinced more people that that's true. Like, I expect once the Islamic Republic is gone, if you're a Muslim, if you're wearing a hijab, if you're praying, and if somebody notices, you could expect somebody to tell you, like, still, like, are you, like, how even after that massacre you're still a Muslim? Like, how anti-Iranian can you be that you, after the massacre, like, especially given that after the massacre so many older people in Iran that their children or their grandchildren never expected them to say something like this, they came out and said they're never going to pray again, right? They're never going to pray again. So in response to the massacre of the Islamic Republic, there are now so many stories from the older generation, which is the last one to leave Islam, coming out and saying, okay, that's it. I'm not a Muslim. I don't want to do anything with Islam anymore, right? And even people from older generations swearing against the holiest. So given that we have reports like this, now a lot of people expect, like, okay, if my grandma is now anti-Islam, then there's no excuse for anybody to continue to be Muslim. So what's your excuse? Even my grandma is now anti-Islamic after that massacre. So the level of expectation of people leaving Islam has now increased a lot. So they're expecting that if you're a Muslim, people are like, what the hell is wrong with you? How could you still be Muslim after what just happened, right? And the only thing so I had a debate with somebody regarding this. The only thing that we could mention for people to be more tolerant is remind them the Muslims who were participating in the revolution, especially this woman named Fatima Sepehri, which Iranians really celebrate as part of the revolution, who's being very much mistreated by the Islamic Republic, and she's in prison and extremely mistreated, and reminding people, and she wears the full chador, reminding people that she's on our side and she's part of the revolution is the only way that some people get convinced that, okay, maybe not all Muslims. Okay. Again, guys, I say this as somebody who's very aggressively anti-Islamic. I'm just saying that, here's how we know Islam is in a very, very bad situation right now in Iran, given that everybody, when they're asking about Islam in Iran, they ask about what's going to happen to Muslims after the Islamic Republic, right? I mean, you wouldn't ask that in a country where it's supposed to be a Muslim majority, right? Like, oh my God, what about Muslims? Like, everybody knows how anti-Islamic Iran has turned. The fact that they're worried about Muslims shows how anti-Islamic Iran has become, where people are like, okay, what are we going to do to protect the Muslims after the Islamic Republic? So this is an admission regarding the mass exodus out of Islam from the Iranian people. So that's one conversation that we were having. I think I've spoken for too long, so I'm going to pass to there's two other conversations that I could have with regards to the free speech and in Iran, and whether the discussion regarding whether it should be legal or illegal according to the Iranian peoples to insult stuff like the book, the Shahnameh, or national symbols, or Deraf Shikaviani, or all of the other Zoroastrian symbols that now Iranian people understand as to be their national symbols. Whether Iranian people think that they should be legal or illegal, that's one conversation I want to have with you guys if you're interested. And another conversation that I could have is regarding the really heated conversations that we have also regarding the continuation of the anti-Islamic war beyond Iran's borders, right? So I'm actually a major advocate for this, that Iran is just the first step, right? And I know Goldie disagrees with me on this. I think Iranians, because Goldie says like we should be keeping it in Iran, right? I think that Iran should be the first step when it comes to the Islamic liberation of the entire region and eventually the rest of the world, right? And I think that Iran could be the base of operations for anti-Islamic activities. So if you want to talk about that, I could also touch on that once we go through some people. Somebody's mic is
I hope so. I really hope so.
okay. All right. Okay, let's go to the next person. Alex,
Armin, down
yeah, go
in.
on.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I just wanted Alex to close his mic because we're getting a little background noise. If it's there.
So if you
Thank
can
Alex.
check the chat, please. I have
Yeah.
pasted a question that someone has privately asked down in chat, and then we have Denny.
All right, let me copy and paste this because I'm not allowed to open this chat. You told me, BT, so I'm going to copy it from here and then maybe paste it in here. Yeah, 1 second. All right, could you clarify the difference between Saltanat Talab and Padashahi? Pahlavi dynasty was constitutional monarchy anyways. Are they talking about the changes that Muhammad Reza Shah made to the constitution? I do not understand what people are fighting over. Okay, so technically, they both are supposed to mean the same thing, right? So Padashahi means monarchy in Persian. Sultanate means monarchy in Arabic, right? However, the word Sultanate refers to Solte, which is like is like too aggressive. It's like dominant. It's like something that is supposed to. It sounds tyrannical, right? The word Padashahi, which is a Persian word, is just a lot more friendly, you know what I mean, than the word Sultanate, right? So even though they technically mean the same thing, Padashahi and Sultanate, what has happened is the people in the past couple of years, the people who are anti-monarchists in Iran, they refer to monarchists not as Padashahi Khahan, which means the wanters of monarchy, which is monarchists, right? They refer to them as Saltanat Talab, right? So even though they technically mean the same thing, but one is in Arabic, the other one is in Persian, given how monarchists refer to themselves as Padashahi Khahan and anti-monarchists refer to the monarchists as Saltanat Talab, it has now become common for us to recognize who's against us based on how they refer to the monarchists. So technically they may say the same thing, but they're used by different groups of people. So I don't know if that answers that. I don't know if that answers the question for the first part of the question. I don't know who asked it. Like, are they satisfied with this, or do they have? Is it still clear, this part, or not? So
Yes, they are satisfied.
okay. So that's the first part. Let me read the second part. Pahlavi dynasty was constitutional monarchy, anyways. Are they talking about the changes that Muhammad Reza Shah made? No. They consider both Muhammad Reza Shah to be Sultanate and what's coming by Prince Reza Pahlavi to also be Sultanate. I do not understand what people are fighting over. So the wording is they're not fighting over Padishahi versus Sultanate. Okay, they're fighting over wanting monarchy or not wanting monarchy. Like, so they're anti-monarchist. So it's not that they're fighting over the wording. It's just that the wording shows that they are against us. By the way, I just want to make it clear. I'm not a monarchist. Okay, when I say against us, because I consider anti-monarchists to be our enemy, even though I'm not a monarchist myself, right? Because I like the monarchists, I defend the monarchists. I consider the monarchists to be under our. So the main difference maker for me is not whether you're a monarchist or not a monarchist. The main difference maker is whether you support Prince Reza Pahlavi's leadership, his team, and the 4 principles. Okay, so if you accept Prince Reza Pahlavi as a leader and his team and his transitional plan and the 4 principles by Prince Reza Pahlavi, which is the border integrity, democracy, secularism, and equal individual rights before the law. These are the 4 principles. If you agree with this, then you're on our side, whether you're a monarchist or not, right? But anti-monarchists, even though I'm not a monarchist, anti-monarchists are against everything against Pahlavi and his team, right? So I defend. So as a non-monarchist myself, I see I'm on the same side of the monarchists in this revolution with the leadership of Prince Reza Pahlavi, and I consider anti-monarchists to be the enemy, not because I'm a monarchist, but because the anti-monarchists are also the enemy of Prince Reza Pahlavi. So that's how, and also, and the enemy of the Iranian people and Iran as a whole. So that's the explanation. All right.
Thank you, Armin. So next we have Danny.
So first, I just wanted to remind you about what Goldie said at the end of the stream that you said you'd tell us about, but that's your update to share.
Oh, so Goldie said
like
something
right before you.
Yeah.
Yeah, right before you joined the discussion group.
Okay, tell me, what did she say?
She said that she might join like this week, I think.
Yes, guys, Goldie might join us. Goldie might join this discussion group this week. Okay, so I need you guys to be very good, be at your best behavior. I'm looking at you, Steph and Alex. Okay. I know you guys open your mics at really in the middle of conversations, so just want to. Oh, and Daniel as well. Is he here? Okay. Okay. So guys,
I'll try to be quiet.
Yes. All right. So guys, please don't embarrass me. Please don't embarrass.
Okay. Next on the list,
I
we have.
Sorry, I wanted to keep asking about something. So about Muslims in Iran. So to me, as an atheist, there's a distinction between does belief in this religion cause good things, and does this religion describe things that are actually true about the real world? So to play some devil's advocate on behalf of Muslims in Iran, maybe they can claim that they don't take their religion that seriously, and they don't believe that Khomeinism is the right interpretation of Islam, and they just want to go on without bothering anybody with some extremely benign interpretation. So I'm also extremely against Islam, but I have some sympathy for an argument along those lines, and my main concern is that propagating Islam at all guarantees that people will interpret it in a more radical way just by reading the texts.
Okay, so this is the argument that I have with Muslims inside Iran that works almost every time, and they get convinced by this when I tell them this. Okay, this has been so good. Like I've used this argument. I'm not talking about the pro-Islamic Republic Muslims. I'm talking about the anti-Islamic Republic Muslims in Iran. When I tell them this, they become extremely tolerant of my anti-Islamic rhetoric, right? So, and they not only they accept it, they become really good friends with me, and they're like, okay, they they were like, okay, this is good. This is what I like as well. And I actually managed to convince Mehdi Nasiri, who is one of the most important religious Muslims who used to be the main propagandist for Khamenei himself. Okay. And I just had a show with him and I told him all of this, and he was convinced by them. And he said, I have no problem. If this is being if what you're doing represents, if all anti-Islam activists are like you, I have no problem with anti-Islam activists. Because his position was like, you guys could basically leave Islam, but why do you have to attack Islam? Like, just like what, like that was his position. But now he's like, okay, fair, attack Islam all you want. Okay, so my point is to them that what I want for Muslims after the Islamic Republic is not just the ability to be Muslim. Okay, I am a free speech advocate, and I think that they should have the freedom to invite people to Islam. They should have that freedom, right? And not only that, as an Iranian citizen, they should expect safety and security from our future government, and they should be treated like every other citizen. And any other citizen, if anybody wants to come harm them or mistreat them or threaten them because they're Muslim, it is the responsibility of our state to come give them full protection. And me, as somebody who's anti-Islam but also is a free speech advocate, I expect my state to protect Muslims against harm for being Muslims, even though I'm extremely anti-Islamic. So I say, how does that sound? Do you think that's fair? They say like, oh yeah, that sounds great. That sounds fair. So for first, by the way, this is a trap. Okay, I get them on board that this is a good thing. Okay, so once they accept that this is a good thing, because I don't tell them what I want from my state before I tell them this, because they have to first admit that this is a good situation for them to be in, right? Say like, so secularism, there is no Islamic government, there is no mosque being there's no religious propaganda being spread by the government, but you get to be a Muslim, you get to teach Islam, you get to advocate Islam, you get to raise your own money, build your own mosque, whatever you want, pray, fast, whatever you want to do as a Muslim. Nobody should harm you. And you can even have your Ashura ceremonies if you want, as long as you keep the noise down and you don't get noise complaints. You could even do that, okay? And that sounds fair. Is it fair? Fair, okay? Because I am actually, the reason why they get impressed by that is because I am going farther than even some people who don't consider themselves to be anti-Islamic. There are many people who say, are Muslim Iranians who are against the regime. They say like, hey, in the future of Iran, a free Iran, everybody should keep their religion into their own private house and not talk about their religion in the public sphere. And they're Muslim and they're saying this. I'm like saying, hey, look, as an anti-Islamic person, I'm going further than them. They say, keep Islam into your own house. I'm saying, no, you should be able to come into the park and talk about Islam, hand out power. The Muslims who are anti-Islamic Republic, they're saying after we free Iran, we will keep Islam into our home. Me as a free speech advocate, I'm saying you should be able to be free to come out and advocate for Islam in the park and hand out pamphlets to people to bring them back to Islam. I think you should be able to do that. So like, look, I'm actually more generous than the Muslim political activists, given that I'm anti-Islamic. So this is good, right? They're like, okay, yeah, that's really good. And then here's the trap. They're like, okay, if you are free to advocate for Islam, then do you agree that it's only fair that I get to advocate against Islam? Right? And when I get to this part, they usually say yes. Okay. And especially given that I gave them all of those brownie points, all of those, privileges and rights, right? Because when their experience is when they talk to an anti-Islam advocate, if they're like, oh my God, you're gonna do this, we're gonna destroy you, we're gonna come for you, you're not gonna be able to do this and that. Like, oh my God, they're gonna be hunting us down, they're gonna be taking our hijab off with force, they're going to not let us pray, not let us fast. So you first come and you give them the good parts. You tell them that they will be even more secure. They will be even more secure under a secular Iran. Muslims will be protected even more than under the Islamic Republic, right? And they will be able to do all of the Islamic things that they want, whatever Islamic thing they want, So you give them all the good parts, and the only thing you ask for in return is that I should, like, if you can advocate for Islam, it's only fair for me to speak against it, right? So you get them, and then you're gonna get into a debate because they know that I'm also in favor of being able to insult and ridicule Islam. But that's the next discussion. I'm not gonna tell you how I get them on board with that as well, which is very challenging, but I have been successful with that. With some Muslims, to get them even on board with, okay, it should be free to insult Islam. It's very challenging, but I just wanted to give you the first step on how I get them on board in being able to speak against Islam in the future of Iran. That's if you're interested, I could tell you how I go with the insulting and ridiculing as well.
I'm very interested, but I wanted to give the floor to some other people. And also, Alex had a quick comment about this.
I guess now it's time to talk.
Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, Tusi actually talked about this, and he calls this form of Islamism, which is basically
there is no
form of
Islam and Islamism are the same thing.
Well, one is more radical than another. One is like more strict.
No, that's not true. Islam and Islamism are the same thing. There is no difference between Islam and Islamism. There is a difference between a Muslim and an Islamist, okay? Because some Muslims want Islam in politics and some of them don't. But Islam as a religion is completely political to its core. Islam is political from its DNA. So there is no difference between Islam and Islamism. When it comes to individuals, there is a difference between a Muslim and an Islamist. But when it comes to the religion itself, there is no difference because Islam is purely political.
And I would bet you they would be unwilling to rewrite their holy book, Quran, to fix this part.
I mean, if you're willing to rewrite the Quran, then you're not a Muslim anymore. If you come out and say that I want to rewrite the Quran, immediately you immediately have left Islam.
I think belief in the perfection of the Quran to Islam is like a belief in Jesus being the Son of God to Christianity. It's just you can't do that.
Danny, actually, a point that a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people think Allah is like Jesus and the Quran is like the Bible. It's actually the other way around, okay? So in Islam, the equivalent to Jesus is the Quran, not Allah. And the equivalent to Allah is the Bible. But I will have another explanation regarding that one day.
Jeffrey, why don't you go ahead and chime in on this, please?
Just to elaborate again on Armin's point, it's very apt. There's a huge difference between Islam, the belief system, and all members of the Alman breed, the global community that identifies as being Muslim. Now, that being said, so people are like, well, things differently. Other than a very brief time period during the Mutazilite era, applying reason or I'm always mispronounce it, Ittihad, is considered a primary heretical act. If you modify or try to change the Quran prior to the 9th century or after the 9th century, it qualifies you for death in Islamic jurisprudence, right? In Sharia law, how Islam doctrinally applies its belief system. And like the idea, it's amazing you brought that up, Armin. Like some people, predominantly in the West, right? Due to institutional capture of our universities being leftist only clubs and leftist bullshit, like it's like this moral equivalency. Well, Muhammad is the same as Yahshua Mashiach, and the Quran is the same as the Bible. No, they're not. No, they're not. Not doctrinally, not historically, not at all. Well, but there's no but. There's no but. Right? So a couple of myths, right? Oh, there is peaceful surahs in the Quran. That must mean Islam is peaceful. First off, the translation, that's a mistranslation. That's not peace surah. Read the Meccan surahs. That's word surah, not the same as peace. Even if there were peace surahs in the Quran, because Islam how Islam doctrinally categorizes the Quran and or applies said like surahs via the law of abrogation based on the idea of progressive revelation, meaning Muhammad, even if he existed, because there's no third-party corroboratory evidence, like the existence of Yahshua Mashiach via Roman documents, was getting, he was going up to a cave and having delusions of grandeur and thought he was giving all this amazing wisdom with the alleged ultimate wisdom at the end, meaning that all of the surahs that are temporally located, meaning in time in the Quran, abrogate, replace, and nullify the ones that came before it. Why is that important? Because the sword or war verses, the Medinan surahs, are temporally located later on in the Quran. So even if there were peace surahs, which there isn't, it doesn't make any difference. That being said, Western leftists that pushed all this moral equivalency, very much from Soviet active measures. This is the same stupid shit that leftist freaks pushed during the Red-Black Alliance to sit there and delegitimize the Shah and then set it up so that those crazies could take down the Shah. That's the same stupid shit. It's the same stupid shit that's spewed by members of the Red-Green Alliance today. This is like leftists who try to sit there and do all this mental gymnastics, right? Like, oh, well, but Islam's like, they're queers for Palestine. How can you possibly be queers for Hamas? They want you all dead. I mean, outside of it's in a luxury belief because you live in the West and are not directly going to directly suffer that racial, cultural, national, or personal masochistic belief system, right? How do you logically square that circle, right? How do they do it? They sit there and redefine Islam in a manner that Islam itself says you cannot do. Other than the 9th century, under the Mutazilite reign, which was disproportionately Greeks and Persians that played a role in that very brief time period where reason could even be superficially applied to the Quran. It's the same shit that I hear when it comes to Mandela, right? There's no question the apartheid government in South Africa was shitty. Absolutely ruthless fuckers, right? They did horrible shit. And it's true, Mandela fought against the apartheid regime. That's true. That doesn't make Mandela de facto good. I mean, Mandela was an overt asset for the KGB and did despicable shit all throughout the African peninsula, or the continent of Africa. Just look up Operation Mayabuye and all the terrorist attacks like the Church Street bombing and all the rest of it that disproportionately killed, I'm going somewhere with this, disproportionately killed Black women and children. Well, what do you hear the left say? Oh, Mandela, he was like South Africa's, like Martin Luther King. No, not even close. That bullshit moral equivalence. Oh my God. I'm sorry, Armin. I get just probably as angry as you do. with this nonsense. I mean, doesn't it drive you apeshit when these people try to push that stuff? Well, it depends on how you interpret the Quran. The Islam says you can't do that. So, I mean, where do you go from there? I don't know. I mean, I know I kind of meander a little bit. It's that kind of intellectual dishonesty and lack of moral clarity that erodes policy that needs to be implemented so we can minimize the absolute abuse and abject horror that is visited upon any number of vulnerable populations by Islamic fundamentalist entities, whether they're the mullah regime or terrorists or whatever. And so the reason I get upset is because that lack of moral clarity is measured in people's lives. And I don't know how the hell you don't flip out, Armin. I don't know how you do it, dude. Is it a big bag of weed or you drinking every day? I don't know what it is. I mean, you like all this shit going on in Iran, and somehow you like still. I told my wife I call you like Persian Elmo, right? Because I just want to tickle you. Anyway, I'm gonna stop now. I just figured I'd chime in just a little.
Brave.
All right. No, I mean, I've
I
debated.
think you needed that. I think you really needed
Yeah,
that.
I think you need to get that out of your system. Yeah, I mean, I debated Muslims for more than a decade now, and I've heard the most. You won't believe the types of arguments I've heard. I've debated many mullahs, many so-called philosophers of Islamic studies. So honestly, like when you guys hear some ridiculous nonsense, it's nothing compared to what, like, yeah, I mean, I'm actually fascinated by them, by the pro-Islamic arguments. And the way I don't get angry anymore is, I mean, I when I get angry is because I want to get angry, because I feel like I enjoy sometimes like getting angry, so it's completely under my control when I want to get angry, and I get angry. But when I don't get angry, because strategically it doesn't make sense to get angry because you're disarming somebody by calmly listening to them, I treat them like a, I don't know, like a virus that I'm studying or something. Like I don't get, like I think like a scientist who is basically treating I don't know, cancer, is not going to lose his shit like looking at a tumor and like start swearing at it, right? I think they're actually interested in the subject that they're studying. So I look at them at the subject of study and the way that they think. Instead of me getting angry with it, I feel like I'm studying something. I'm trying to understand how the pro-Islamic arguments evolve and what their strategies are, and I basically look at it as an observer. And when I'm studying it, I get less angry from it. That's the way I try to think about it.
A lot of us been doing it for years as well. So like, I don't know how about you, Armin, but at the start, because I've been getting like death threats and stuff from Muslims since I was like 12. But at the start I would get really angry, and sometimes I would just feel despair and just go on a crash out. And we all have crash outs sometimes, but it's like with time, and breathing and taking breaks whenever you can. And again, looking for, like Armin said, taking like a stand from the outside as an observer, that helps.
Yes. I usually get more angry with people that need to know better. Honestly, I shouldn't say this, but when somebody says I'm a Muslim, I feel like, oh, you're special. Like I kind of like feel like you're a special person, so I should be less angry with you because you're kind of like a mental handicap or something. So I treat you like I expect. Like I basically, if somebody is like usually on the right side of things and is on our side and has good position, and they all of a sudden have a shit take, they're usually like, what the fuck? Like, what's wrong with you? But if you're a Muslim, for example, and you have shit takes, I'm like, well, I mean, you're Muslim. Like, okay, like, okay, like, why should I get angry?
I had a conversation with someone that went great for 2 hours, and then started, and then like it was like so logical and nice, and then it's like on this side, yeah, but there's there's the black magic Jewish cult that controls the world. So I'm like, okay.
By the way, guys, like one of the most one debate that I just recently had on the Persian side was like, if you want to talk about frustrating arguments, I was debating. It was recorded and we just released it on our Persian channel. I was debating somebody that came up and was defending the Islamic Republic regarding the killing, more 40,000 and more Iranian people, and he was basically trying to argue why that was justified, why every state has the right to defend itself when they're trying to topple it. And I was arguing that. So if you think, right? So, and by the way, it went very well in my favor. Like I completely destroyed him, but he was really frustrated with me. But yeah, this is what I go through. imagine after experiencing the worst strategy in the history of your country, having to debate somebody who's trying to justify it, like having to debating that person for an hour straight, and tolerating his nonsense.
Yeah, we don't have to imagine it. We know it very well. Finally on the list we have Cat Lady.
Yes, finally. So actually I there is like this viral video right now of this YouTuber Bailey something. I don't know, she's like crying, and like has like what the situation in America is so bad right now. We cannot live like that and all of that. And she has some points, I guess, some others that I don't agree on, whatever. But she says, "What are we going to do? What are we going to do?" and cries, and it's very viral right now. And I was going through the comments, and people say, "Oh yeah, let's unite together to fight the Jews." And I'm like, "Good luck. You will settle. Your life is going to be better." It's like, even someone says, as an Armenian, and you are also Armenian, we should together fight against Zionists. What can I say? People are hopeless.
Good luck, have fun.
Yeah, bright future. Also, I had a question, Armin, but maybe it's too late now. I wanted to ask you, why are you not a monarchist?
Okay. Oh, that's a good question. Let me respond to Goldie. She asked me something. Let me just say, in what level? That's a good question. Okay, so all right, why am I not a monarchist? Okay. So, by the way, Steph also raised her hand, so I think like let's after that go to Steph.
Sorry.
So there is, when it comes to being a monarchist or not being a monarchist, there's two different areas, right? So one, philosophically, like on paper, in theory, what system do you think works better? And then another question is in practice, in the reality that you're dealing with right now, given the environment that you're in now, what do you think works best, right? So I consider myself, so let me tell you, this is a little bit strategic from my perspective, right? When we have the referendum, I will vote for monarchy, right? Not because philosophically I'm in favor of monarchy, but because given the conditions that we are in Iran right now, all the Republicans, all the people, well, not all the people, all the people who are anti-Iran, all the MEK people, the Marxists, the reformers, the Mossadegis, they have picked up the Republican flag, right? So I don't, even though I'm a Republican, I don't want to join their side. There are some Republicans who support Prince Reza Pahlavi, who are proper patriots, who don't support all of those shit ideas. But given how all of the shit ideas that has destroyed our country has grouped under the Republican flag, there is no saving that branding. You know what I mean? So it's imagine if you're a women rights activist that refuses to call herself a feminist because of all the woke nonsense that you're like, okay, you know what, I'm not going to call myself that.
I
Something
just
like
want to make sure that you know that it's like not yet the answer to my question, right? You get to that?
I understand that. I understand. I'm moving towards it, right? So I'm just telling you strategically, I'm going to vote monarchist, even though I'm not a monarchist, because I think we need to vote for monarchism to keep all of these people out, right? So I'm voting strategically based on the reality on the ground, right? On paper, individually, I don't see, okay, and like in the worlds of theory, in a vacuum, I don't see a necessity for a king, right? But somebody might say, Armin, well, okay, but you don't live on paper. In the real world, you're going to vote for monarchy, so you are technically a monarchist, right? So there's the reason, and here's where it comes strategic. So technically, I could call myself a monarchist because I'm going to vote for monarchy, or I could call myself a Republican because in the vacuum on theory and paper, I don't see the necessary for having a king, and I think that a republic without a monarch could work as effectively in paper, not because of not in Iran right now, given the conditions that we're dealing with in Iran right now. I think a monarchy would work better, given that reason that I give you and a couple other reasons. But here's how I'm being a bit sneaky, okay? Prince Reza, like I've been not a monarchist for a very long time, and I started supporting Prince Reza Pahlavi, right? And some people close to Prince Reza Pahlavi's team told me that Prince Reza Pahlavi needs not like it's good to have non-monarchist supporters of Prince Reza Pahlavi, right? So me deciding to categorize myself as a monarchist would just add to the already gazillion monarchists who support Prince Reza Pahlavi, right? What we need to advertise is the broader base that Prince Reza Pahlavi has when it comes to supporters beyond monarchists, right? So given that I philosophically could categorize myself as a Republican and a monarchist, it makes sense that I go with that definition and I keep presenting myself and as a non-monarchist who is a supporter of Prince Reza Pahlavi, so my platform could be used as a way to demonstrate the broader base of support that Prince Reza Pahlavi has. Does that answer your question?
No. I
Okay.
I want to know specific. I know all of that, and I think it's smart. It also can give like permission and show like, yeah, not all of whoever supports the Shah is like super like wants a king and everything. But my question is, why do you, in the basic idea, why do you think that monarchy is not good? Because you said it somewhat because you think it will be effective without a king, right? That's good.
Yeah. So for me, okay. So let me tell you, I think that when it comes to our future government, there's the structure of the government, and then there's the content of the government. Okay. So I think the values of the government are more important than when it comes to the structure. The main priority is for it to be represent the sovereignty belonging to the people. So let me explain this. So a constitutional monarchy.
That seem like what you guys want?
Let me, Steph. Steph, like I have no idea what you're asking, and
I know. I'm sorry.
all you're doing is basically making me lose my train of thought.
Sorry. No.
That's okay.
I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to understand
So you
the.
could do that when
Don't you want
you're
a
right.
democracy that could be like whatever you have in Canada? What is that called?
Steph, can you let me respond to Cat Lady? I will get to you very, very soon. Okay. Right after I
Yes.
respond to Cat Lady, I will get to you. Thank you, Steph. Thank you. Where was I? Okay. So yeah, love you too, Steph. Okay. So technically, a constitutional monarchy is a republic. Okay. So when the Iranian people are saying a republic or a constitutional monarchy, a more accurate description of these two choices would be a republic with a monarch and a republic without a monarch. Okay. Because as long as the government in place, the power comes from the people and sovereignty belongs to the people, then you're a republic. So in a constitutional monarchy, you have prime minister, you have voting, you have a parliament, you have a constitution, you have a limited powered monarch. All of these are signs of you being a republic. So a constitutional monarchy is definitely a republic, but a republic with a monarch. So to me, the highest priority is to have a republic, whether in a constitutional monarchy format or a republic without a monarch. That is secondary, not as important. The more important part is the content, which is muhtava, which is the fact that we're secular, the fact that we're democratic, the fact that our border integrity is being protected, and the fact that we have equal individual rights before the law. And we could achieve all of these with both models. I think we could achieve all of these with both models, right? So to me, on paper, given that they're both achievable, given that I'm a limited government person, I would be in favor of not adding something that is not necessary. So if both of these models achieve all of these, and in paper a monarch is not needed, so philosophically, why add a monarch where all of these could be achieved with both models? However, again, in reality, on the ground in Iran, I think we do need a monarch to protect us from all of those, ideas that are under the Republican flag, right? But in theory, on a piece of paper, in a vacuum, if everything was equal, preferably having less government institutions. Like the king is not just a king. A king comes with an entire monarchy branch of the government. Having less government institutions, I'm in favor of that because I'm a limited government kind of guy. But obviously in Iran, I do think we need a monarch for many different reasons. But on paper and on theory, I prefer less. Less is more. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Good questions, by the way, Cat Lady.
Yeah, I was wondering. And I think it's very smart. Actually, I would do it the same, I think, in your place. It's like if you have something that unites all of you, stick to it. You'll work it out later. Like
amazing.
Whoever now that says against the Shah, it's so fragile. You found something that unites everybody. Now you want to be against the Shah? You're not serious. I agree with that completely. Javid Shah,
I'm Israel Chai.
Yeah.
That was really good. I really enjoyed that. So who's on the list? I think Steph is on the list, right?
She said that she is
No,
done.
I just talk out of order. I don't have a question. I don't think.
Oh my. So when is your turn? I saw you raise your hand.
I'm joking. Sorry, I was joking.
Okay.
But I don't think I have a question.
You don't.
I don't
Okay.
think.
You only speak when you're not
only speak when I'm not supposed to.
Supposed to. Okay. So when you're actually supposed to speak,
rebel.
then you don't. Okay. Then you don't have anything to say. Okay.
Armin, how long do we have you for?
I could be here for another 20 minutes.
Okay, in that case.
Yeah. Okay, Danny, I guess, right?
Danny, before you go, if that's okay, I'm just going to make a quick comment that I'm going to head out. It is time for me now.
Okay.
But thank you, Armin, for your time with us today. We appreciate it. And Danny, you know the drill. I will see you guys tomorrow.
BT, I'm really, when I come here, I really like to also hear your opinions or your questions as well. Like, I really enjoy listening to you as well. So if you ever have any points or questions, let me know.
Of course, Armin, yes, but I'm always here, and so I like to give everyone an opportunity. But yeah, maybe I'll set a little calendar reminder to ask you impossible questions once a week. That way it can satisfy you.
Okay. Thank you. Sounds
Okay,
good.
thanks everybody. Have a good one.
Bye, BT.
Yes, so I guess I wanted to ask about your second step when you talk to Iranian Muslims, how you get to talking about the pedophile warlord, police be upon him.
So how do I talk to Muslims regarding why we should have the right to insult Islam? Okay. All right. So when I get the so guys, like for people who don't have context, we're talking about not the pro-Islamic Republic Muslims in Iran. We're talking about the Islam Muslims who are a lot more mellow, who are anti-Islamic Republic, who believe in secularism, who don't want religion and government, who are fighting alongside us anti-Islamic people against Islamic Republic. We're talking about them. Okay, so many of these Muslims have already been convinced that in the future of Iran, criticizing Islam should be free, but many of them are not do not agree that is insulting Islam should be allowed, should be legal, right? In the future of Iran, right? So there's a couple of points that we could make here. By the way, this part, convincing this part, is a more challenging thing to do, right? There's a couple of points here. First, we tell them that this is a free speech thing. Like I tell them that because usually tell me like, Armin, if you have any good points against Islam, then argue it. Why do you have to insult Islam, right? My first argument is usually regarding the fact that giving the government the ability to control speech is too much, giving too much power to the government, right? And usually it starts with things that people agree that should be limited, and then it will, that's basically once you allow that, once the government gets their foot in the door, they will eventually open it wide open, and it will get to places where then once you allow them to come for that speech, then you don't know how far that's going to go. So that's my main point. And I'm saying, like, when a lot of the allowing insulting Islam is more about not letting the government drawing red lines where it comes to what speech is allowed, more than convincing people out of Islam. It's more of a free speech thing rather than convincing Muslims out of Islam thing, right? If you tell us that we can't say this, then it will become more important to say it so that the government doesn't have the ability to limit speech. That's one point. Another point is that the insulting of Islam is the only reason why it's now normal to you as a Muslim for me to criticize Islam. Because it was, you're saying that, oh, we should allow, you as a Muslim are telling me that, oh, we should allow people to criticize Islam respectfully, but not insult Islam. You would never say this. Like, I would ask them, like, would you have said this 5 years ago, 2 years ago, even? Many of you, almost all of you Muslims who are saying this now in Iran, just a few years ago, you couldn't even imagine listening to somebody criticize Islam. And then I'm like, what changed? What changed? Why do you saying like, oh, people should be allowed to respectfully criticize Islam? Because when we probably started this conversation with me, you Muslim, by saying like, Armin, why can't you be respectful like this person? Like, why? I like the people. You actually start praising people anti-Islam. As a Muslim, I hear you praise Iranian critics of Islam by comparing them to some other Iranians that insult Islam. And I'm telling them, this actually shows to me that it's those people who insult Islam that normalized criticizing Islam in your eye. Because if we didn't have people insulting Islam, the most radical thing to do would be criticizing Islam. And because there's nothing more radical to compare it to, you would not be allowing it because you would see it as something crazy radical. It's only when we have something more radical than criticizing Islam that you became tolerant of criticizing Islam. Because compare, like, that person that only criticizes Islam and doesn't insult Islam, the fact that you're accepting him, he owes that to me or people like me who went out and insulted Islam, and now you're saying like, oh, let's go to that guy and listen to him because unlike Armin, he's actually very respectful and criticizes Islam respectfully. But he owes the fact that what he's doing is now normal and acceptable to people like us because he's now being compared to people like us. And that's why I say, and I get him to admit that if they like the fact that they're thinking that, oh, it's not a big deal to criticize Islam, it's only because now there's so many Iranians that constantly insult Islam. And because that exists, criticizing Islam doesn't seem like a big deal. I try to get them to admit that. And I say, like, there's a saying in Persian, it goes like this. به مرگ بگیرین تا به تب راضی شن. خب یعنی this means that we go, like, imagine if like we go with death so that they can accept a fever. Like, I think what this means is that imagine if somebody comes and tells you that, oh, you're gonna die, and you're like, what the hell, I'm gonna die? And they're like, no, don't worry, you only have a fever. But if I just told you you have a fever, you're going to have a bad fever, you're going to be like, oh, no, I have a bad fever. But now if I tell you, don't worry, you have a bad fever, you're going to be like, oh, my God, thank God, I only have a bad fever, right? So that's a Persian saying, right? So tell them death so that they accept a fever, right? So I'm saying this is what we're doing, right? By going extreme, you tolerate something, you tolerate the criticism. So I have convinced some people, including Mehdi Nasir, with this line of argument, but this is more challenging. It's harder to convince Muslims that insulting Islam should be also acceptable. But even more, these arguments have been successful on some Muslims. I do now, by the way, people don't believe this. I do have Muslim friends that argue now that, yeah, people should be able to insult Islam. Like, we didn't have this before, right? Muslims who argue that insulting Islam should be free, that's a radical position to have for a Muslim. And we now have that in Iran, which is like not that many, but we do have that. But even more difficult than that is convincing non-Muslim Iranians that insulting national symbols should be free. That is even more challenging. And that's a conversation that we could have another time. But that's a very interesting conversation. By the way, I just want to say where I stand on this, okay? Because there are people on both sides of me, right? So I'm a free speech maximalist. I'm not a free speech absolutist. I'm a free speech maximalist, right? So what I say is that when it comes to insulting, so a lot of Iranians think like, okay, we should be able, in the future of Iran, we should be able to insult Islam, but it should be illegal to insult Shahnameh or insult, I don't know, all the symbols of Iran, or, you know, the flag, for example, or the king, or the Iran symbols of Iran. That should be illegal, right? And there are some other people who say, no, we should be going for free speech. What the hell? The Islamic Republic didn't have free speech. So now that the Islamic Republic is going, we should have free speech and all of that, right? I say I'm on the side of free speech, but as one vote, right? Because there are some other people who are also on the side of free speech, but they're more uh, more radical than me, as in that shouldn't even be up for a vote. Like, free speech should be one of the principles of Iran, and people shouldn't be able to to decide for us to ban any form of speech. I am somewhere in the middle of these two groups of people by saying that I would vote for maximum amount of free speech, but I think the Iranian people should decide the level of free speech that we have, rather than saying that this is a principle that we don't get to choose. So I will vote for maximum amount of free speech, but Iranian people should be like as just one vote, not as this should be a principle. So we should have elections where people would decide what are like would pick their representatives who pick the laws, and the only four principles that we have is secularism, democracy, border integrity, and the equal individual rights before the laws. Those are our four principles, and the level of free speech should be decided based on who we vote for, both for writing the constitution and our parliament, where people come and vote for the level of free speech. I hope, but I also say that if there is any limitation of freedom of speech, which I would not vote for, I would vote for maximum level. But if other Iranians vote for us to have some limitations, I think those limitations should be based on the laws that are passed in the parliament, not the laws written in our constitution, so that we could more easily change it. So when we are electing the people who write the constitution, I think that with the limitation, if Iranian people vote for limiting free speech to some degree, that should not be written in the constitution. Vote for it in the parliament, so that if we're like, okay, we fucked up, that is actually does not work, we want more free speech, it will be easier to go back to having more free speech. So that's my position. Basically, I managed to make everyone angry. Both the free speech advocates are angry with me because they think that this should not be up to the people. This should not be voted on. Free speech is a basic fundamental human right, and everybody should have it to the max without elections. And the people who want to have some limitations, they're also, I can manage to make them angry as well, because my vote specifically would be for allowing any form of insult to anything, so I managed to basically make everyone angry. I saw Shauna and wanted to say something. Rachel, Shauna?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I just got here, so I'm sorry if you already went over this. But what about the fact that, so for Iran, I don't have a vote because I'm American, not Iranian. But what about the fact that, like, I guess my concern in general, though, about the principle that you were discussing is that there are cultures and people who don't believe in free speech. But, like, what are you doing in situation where, like, what do you think about in situations in general, to broaden the concept and the principle about those types of situations? Like, okay, so if the Puritans had been left in charge completely and hadn't been bullied by the Constitution, they would have put in free speech laws, or they would have put limits on speech. I mean, that's just that their woke descendants would love to have done everything in their power to
I don't
create hate
I don't
speech laws.
understand your question.
Okay, so yeah, because I'm not enunciating it well. Sometimes the problem is that the people don't like free speech, and in order to get them to accept it, you kind of have to force it on them. Sometimes free speech has to be forced on the people via law.
Okay, so I mean, free speech is always forced, because if it's a right, it's always forced because there's a law and the law is being enforced, right? And free speech is not binary, right? So it's a spectrum. You could have different degrees of free speech, right? So for example, in France, you have more free speech than you have in Iran right now, but not as much as in the United States, right? So United States level of freedom of speech is higher than France, and France's freedom of speech is astronomically higher than what we have in Iran, right? So it's not, the Iranian people obviously want free speech, okay? But the question is not whether they want free speech, is they want what level of free speech they want. Do they want to go as far as France, or they want to go as far as America? I'm somebody who wants to go as far as the United States, okay? But the Iranians who disagree with me, it's not that they're against free speech, they're for free speech, but they want to go to the level of a country like Germany or France. So for example, in France, you're not allowed to burn the flag. In France, you're not allowed to do that. In Germany, you're not allowed to do a Nazi salute or deny the Holocaust. You're not allowed to do that. So it's still, they're still considered free speech countries. I don't know if UK is still considered a free speech country. Okay.
I mean, they have low-key blasphemy laws, but yeah.
Yeah. So in Iran, they want free speech, but maybe not like insulting the flag, for example. They're like, okay, let's have some. Maybe just a few things should be some. Not. I mean, I'm not saying they want that. I'm just saying the disagreement is over that. So, for example, I had a poll on my channel, and it was 50-50. It was like 50% said like we want complete free speech to the level of the United States, and another 50% wanted some limitations, like a country like France or Germany.
Okay. As an American, and I realize this is very much coming from my perspective, I just look at France and Germany as tyrannical authoritarian states. While I recognize that is they're like less tyrannical than other places.
Oh my God.
I'm still just like it's
that's very by the way, that's very American of you.
It is very American. I recognize that this is like my American coming out, but I just am like, no, you have to.
But based on that metric, Shana, every country on the world, based on that metric, every single country in the world is tyranny except the United States, based on your the way you categorize.
This is why I preface this by saying that this is coming from a very American perspective. And by the way, if I'm being logical and I'm removing my correctness and pretending that I'm not right for a second, I can see sympathetically that there are probably sometimes reasons in certain countries to have hate speech laws or whatever laws. Like in Germany, there was probably a reason for that, whatever, after the Holocaust and stuff, to limit that. I don't necessarily
No, go on, and then I make the point.
I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understand the logic that would get them there.
So here's the thing. I actually don't understand the logic because I'm a skeptic, okay? I have my philosophical philosophical position when it comes to my politics is that I'm a humanist, I'm a skeptic, I want the maximum higher level of well-being, and I don't 100% trust myself to know what the best solution is, right? This is why I think liberty works. The reason why liberty works is because the best methods cannot be invented. They need to be discovered by allowing a Darwinian competition between different ideas to fight each other and see the results of the wisdom of the crowd. This is why liberty produces the best results. So I might come out and say that I think this works. And by the way, I do think that liberty means that different societies will come up with similar but different solution, but very similar. Like there are certain principles that seem to be working everywhere, but there will be some differences to them to some degree based on the cultural, the historical, the geographical and the economic condition of that society. So what works for America is not necessarily exactly, it will be similar, but it would not be exactly what works for Israel or what works for Iran. There will be some differences. And the best way to discover what works is to create a society where you have the highest amount, not absolute. You need some limitations. You need to have some limitations for the framework to be able to survive, but you need to find the right balance between limitations and freedom to come up with the highest amount of liberty for so that you have the highest amount of competition for that society to be able to discover the best method for them. And this is only through the emergent property of a Darwinian model that it will be discovered. So in Iran, even if I want the highest level of free speech, I think that if we allow the wisdom of the crowd to create different political parties, different people with different political opinions to come advocate for their position, if they're free and if they're competing against each other, whatever comes out of that as the solution is probably the right solution for that time. I just wanted to make sure that it's not too sticky so that if it changes, we could change as well, right? But I think basically I will respect the wisdom of the crowd over my own wisdom. That's what I'm saying. And I will respect whatever the Iranian people come up with.
Yeah. So let me clarify when I'm talking specifically. I think it's more specifically about Germany because I don't know why France has stupid laws, but I just assume it's just because they're French. But I just can understand why the wisdom of the crowd would lead them to want to limit that, because they had a lot of Germans didn't know what was going on when they found out what was going on.
But you don't know if it's the wisdom of the crowd. Was the society free enough to be able to come up with? So you only know if it's the wisdom of the crowd if you actually have given the crowd the maximum amount of liberty that you could to know that this is coming from the crowd. Was it truly the wisdom of the crowd, or was there limitations on how the crowd could express itself?
I don't know, but I suspect it was, but I'm basing that based off of what modern Germans have felt, and they're obviously like 70 years ago. So I don't know, but I do know that a lot of Germans were like, there was a lot of Germans that had no idea what was going on. So
okay, this is interesting. We could actually go look into the history of it.
Yeah, so I would have to know the history.
Yeah. So yeah, we could go. I suspect it was going to have to deal with a lot of the trauma from the shame and the guilt from World War II. It might have something to do with it, but we could talk.
Well, that's what I'm thinking as well. My thinking is that's why. Now, that being said, I do think that they've kind of gone to the other extreme, and maybe they could use some pushback. Yeah. But that's a whole.
That's why I think any limitation of free speech, if it comes from a society, it shouldn't be in the constitution. It should be laws passed by parliament so that it's easier for us to go back.
Is it in the German constitution?
I don't know. Actually, I have to look it up. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's maybe that's something we do research on and we have a discussion about later.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if we still have time, Hila wanted to give at most a 3-sentence update about new order for the public from the IDF, and then Eric.
Okay. Hila and then Eric. Sorry, Eric. Short.
Oh, am I there? Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't preach anything about Islam.
Okay, let's go with Eric first. Yeah, go on, Eric, and then we go Hila. Okay. Now that you started,
I really don't want to preach anything about Islam, but I do a lot of research because I'm trying to figure out ways to work this stuff out. One of the things in Islam they talk about, the old saying about the pen, how bountiful is the pen that teaches man something he wouldn't otherwise know. Okay, for me, that's fundamentally the biggest free speech thing that has ever been written in the history of man. We kind of, when you look at Islam, the problem is really these freaking governments. It's not even this. Everybody makes this a religious thing. Everybody's at everybody's throats. The biggest thing is these idiots running these governments. They have no authority under Sharia law. Do you realize that? There is no Sharia law that gives these mullahs the authority to rule in Islam. It doesn't exist. I'm not going to go into proving that to you. I'm just going to demonstrate it. Look at Saudi Arabia. They're the monarchy. Turkey's secular. Saddam was secular.
Okay,
Boom.
Eric, that's not true. That's not true. Islam teaches, it's a fundamental part of Islam that you need Islamic law, the Islamic rule. It's a very fundamental part of Islamic teaching, and Islam itself is the problem. These governments that you're talking about, they don't actually represent Islam. Okay, they're actually too secular compared.
They write their own laws. They write their own laws.
But Islam is worse. Islam is worse. You think that they are bad and Islam is better? They are bad and Islam is 100 times worse. Islam, they are not Islam, but ISIS is Islam. Okay, so you think like they are bad. Yeah. Okay, so Islam is actually the problem. You don't say Islam is not the problem. Islam does believe in rule. So it's true that the Saudis don't represent Islam, but ISIS does. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got to do something to end it. That's all I can say. It's all got to go. We the people in Islam suffer the most, the women, the children. How can you live under that? But I'm glad you helped clarify me on that point, Armin. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, Eric. Yeah, so if you read the Quran, if you read the Hadith, you can see that Islamic rule is one of the most fundamental teachings of Islam. Islam is political to the core, and not only it's political, not only it wants Islamic rule, it wants Islam to its very core teaches dominance over the entire planet, not just their own area. They want to take over Islam teaches that they need to take over the entire world. So that's why Islam itself is the problem. And thank you for being so open to feedback. I appreciate that. Okay, Hila, you have some news for us.
It's a clarification, I think, because yesterday they said to the air companies of other countries that they need to be relaxed and they should know we have a new protocol that if we will start a war, we will let them leave, because the last time they were stuck here and now they got terrified of flying here and also blowing the whistle when it comes to them canceling flights and everybody getting tension. So they told them, don't worry, we will rescue you out. There will be a protocol about where all the airplanes needs to go. So this is one point of so we will not tell too soon to the public or the Iranian regime that we are starting a fight. So now everything, because it was ruining us before when it was the secret was out too fast because the air companies were canceling stuff. And the second thing is they told us.
Wait, so let me understand what you said first. You're saying Israel is now putting out the information out later because last time it was too costly for them to put the information. Is that I didn't understand.
Other companies of flying, they were getting stressed because if we will go to war, they will stuck here, so they are not doing a lot of problems. And Germany, before we know something, Germany already canceling flights and telling their people to leave Israel and all this kind of stuff, right? So it's telling too fast. So now they told them, don't worry, you will not be stuck in Israel. Even if something will happen, we will make you leave. We have this new protocol and stuff.
Okay.
So the secret will not be out. And for us, Israelis, we were mad. This is what you see today. Today, they said to us that we will get a notice 10 minutes before or something like this, no opening shelters, because we got mad about our army, that they called us up and they wake us up, not because we are bombing. We are bombed because we are bombing other countries. They wake us up. So now they will not do it. They told us only when they attack us 10 minutes before, we will know and wake you up. That's the two clarification of stuff that were interfering.
Wait, so you're mad because your sleep was ruined?
Was ruined, but the worst sound you have ever heard. People rose, jumped out of their bed like, and you cannot turn it off. And then it says, we attacked in Iran. Fuck you.
So now it was like, if we are waking you up, it's real. We are getting bombed. We are not bombing anyone.
Oh my God.
I love you guys so much. You have no
So
idea.
this is the drama of today. So it's, I don't know.
That
if
was
it
the
means
most
anything.
Israeli thing I've ever heard in my life, by the way. I love you guys. Okay, all right. Okay.
So just you
the
know
most
what
American
they said
thing and
between
most
the
Israeli
lines. That is,
thing.
I wanted to let you know what was said between the lines of the messages that comes out.
Okay. That was beautiful. Okay, that was beautiful. Okay, thank you, Hila, and Cat Lady. Okay, guys. All right, guys. I'm gonna stop it here. You guys can continue the conversation after I go. Guys on YouTube, please don't forget to like the stream, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new here. And also check out the link to this group in the description. There's check out the link to this group in the description. You could join these conversations in the next time. So the link, this is our political discussion group. So check that out. And yeah, so I'm Israel Chai, Javid Shah, Payande Iran, and see you guys soon. Wait, let me just end the stream here.
Javid Shah.